Question 7. Calculate the following. 5 squared times 2 cubed, or 5 to the power of 2 times 2 to the power of 3. So these are powers or indices, and they tell you how many times the number has been times by itself. So this is saying 5 times 5, and this is saying 2 times 2 times 2. So 5 times 5 we know is 25, and 2 times 2 is 4, and then you have to times that by the other 2 then. So 2 times 2 is 4, times that by the last 2 is 8. And the question was asking us to times. So we're doing 25 times 8. You could do that in your head. 25 times 4 is going to be 100. So I've got to double the 4 to make 8. So if I double the 100, it would give me 200. Or you could write it down next to it, 25, 50, 175, 100, 125, 150, and so on. Part B, 0.7 times 0.8. The rule here is you need the same amount of numbers after the decimal place in the answer as there are in the question. So this 7 is after this decimal place, and that 8 is after that decimal place. Then we're going to make our lives much easier and get rid of those decimals and just say 7 times 8. Well, 7 times 8 is 56. Again, if you need to do your times tables down the side, then that's perfectly fine. The examiner's not going to begrudge you doing that. So now we need to put the decimal back in somewhere. Well, there's 2 numbers after the decimal point in my question, so I need that in my answer. So my decimal can't go here. If it goes here, that would be 1 number after it. We need 2 numbers after it. So now we know that if there's nothing in front of my decimal, I need to put a 0. So that'll be 1 mark for 0.56. Part C, 9.6 take away 2.38. So I know this is a takeaway sum. You might think it's very easy, but lots and lots and lots of people make mistakes on this. So you need to make sure you're using the correct method and writing it as neatly as possible. So 9.6. And the best thing to do here is put your decimals in a nice straight line straight away. So there's decimals in my question and the decimal in my answer. So now, it's a takeaway sum, I can fit in my 2.38 really easily because the 2 goes straight before the decimal, the 3, and then the 8. So I've got a gap up here, so I'm going to put a 0. I'm filling in that gap with a 0. Now we can start taking away. Well, I can't take away 8 from nothing. 0 take away 8. I can't do it. I can't have minus numbers in this. So I need to borrow. So I borrow from this 6 and it becomes a 5. And then I can take that 1 over to my 0 now, and that becomes a 10. Now I can do 10 take away 8, which is 2. 5 take away 3 is 2. And 9 take away 2 is 7. So the final answer of 7.22 will give you 1 mark. Part D. This is subtracting fractions now. Now this is nice and easy when the bottom numbers are the same, but these 2 bottom numbers aren't the same, means I've got to make them the same before I can continue with the question. So I'm going to draw my arrows, and I need to find a new bottom number for my fractions. So the bottom number has to be the lowest common multiple. So that's the smallest number in both of their times tables. Now the trick here is to use the big number first. So do that times table, 8, 16, 24, 32 and so on, until you find a number that's also in the 4 times table. So if I write out the 4 times table, 4, 8, I've now come to a number that's in both of them. So 8 is the lowest common multiple. So that's my new bottom number. And then we say, well, follow the arrows. How did I get from this 8 to the 8 here? I timesed it by 1. And how did I get from this 4 to that 8? I times it by 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Now what I do to the bottom numbers, I must do to the top. So I followed the arrow, 8 times 1 is 8. Now I go to the top numbers, 7 times 1 is 7. Same over here, 4 times 2 is 8, 1 times 2 is 2. So now the bottom numbers are the same. As we said, it becomes nice and easy. You just take away the top numbers. 7 take away 2 is 5, and the bottom number then stays the same. So the examiner will give you 2 marks straight away if you have 5 over 8. If you made a little mistake, they'll give you 1 mark if you have the same denominator. So that's the same number on the bottom of your 2 fractions.